What's up, guys? So McDonald's said they were releasing their holiday pies recently, and I haven't seen them anywhere. So I'm gonna make some myself. I looked up the best recipe and tried one out, and I think this is actually a very good recipe and a very good replica of it. So let me show you exactly how to do it and how to make yourself a delicious holiday pie like this. All right, let's get straight into it. So right here, we have some whole wheat flour. We're gonna use 1.5 cup with a generous pinch of salt added to it. So boom, we're gonna add that. And also, we got all-purpose flour, aka white flour, and we're doing 1.5 cups of that as well with a generous pinch of salt. All right, and then you get 2 tablespoons of sugar, and what I was saying with the salt is basically it just adds extra flavor to it. Just do a pinch of salt into it and it'll add that flavor. So add that 2 tablespoons of sugar to the mix and get it tossed. And now we're gonna toss the flour mix and the oil in the fridge, and we'll be back in an hour. All right, so first we're gonna have a bowl of about 1.9 cups of skim milk. You can basically just do 2 cups, don't worry too much about it. But then we're gonna add vanilla pudding, the Jell-O, and make sure it's the 3.4 ounces. There's also 3 ounces, but just make sure it's the 3.4. And then I dump it in, mix it up, wait till it dissolves. And as you can tell, last time we added the sprinkles and it did not end out well. So yeah, we're just not gonna do that this time, guys. But after you get it dissolved and everything, you add 1/4 of a cup of yellow cake mix. Use Pillsbury, that's what I use. And this is 1/8 of a cup, so I'm gonna just do 2 of these. And boom. And now we got the custard going, and it's gonna be looking good here in a second, guys. And as you can tell, it got that yellow now, but do not add the sprinkles or it'll completely kill the color. But now we got the filling, and now we're gonna move on to the flour. But after getting the cooled oil and flour out of the freezer, you basically add little bits at a time, trying to get those chunks for the pastry. See how I'm adding little bits at a time while mixing it? You just keep doing that throughout the process of it and just kind of clump it together until you see it turn into a clumpy mess a little bit. And after that, we're gonna start adding the water in, and that'll be in the next clip, but let me show you how it clumps up. So it'll basically kind of look like this. You keep mixing it up until it gets a little clumpy like this. And now it's time to turn it into a pastry. I'll get back to you guys when that's done, but this is what you're looking for. And like I said with the milk, the skim milk, basically you have to use 180 milliliters of water, which is 0.75 of a cup, which is 3/4 of a cup. So just do that and mix it in slowly. Make sure it's cold water, of course, to make that dough nice and firm. And make sure not to overhandle this dough, because this is a very delicate dough and you don't want to overhandle it or it won't turn out like you want. So let's get this mixed up. You do it 1/3 at a time in here, and as you can see, it starts forming the dough. And we're gonna form the dough with this real quick. And as you can see, it's turning more and more into dough the more I mix it up. And soon we're gonna be able to form this whole thing into a dough ball. We just don't want it getting too hot, so this is a process you want to do rather quickly. Make sure not to take it too slow, and right after you're done getting it all together, put it onto a lightly floured cutting board, and then I'll show you from there what we have to do. We got our dough like a pastry. See how it's all flaky and stuff? We want it just like that, so don't even worry about that. Dump it straight onto your cutting board. And we're gonna get that rolling pin out here, and we're gonna have to roll it out now. All right, guys, so now I got it split into quarters. I got my other quarters right over here in this bowl, just so we don't overfill the cutting board. And then we're gonna start rolling it out till we get it very thin. and that's going to be a little bit of a process, so I'll save you guys the process and just show you how thin it has to get. Okay, so as you can see, we got it rolled out pretty thin, and this is about how thin you want it as the pastry, so you want it pretty thin. Okay guys, so basically cut your first triangle, or not, now why not keep saying triangle? Cut your first rectangle and try to basically just copy and paste and cut around it for the next one. So as you can see, I just cut one side, cut the other, and cut the other, and just keep copy and pasting and keep rolling it out as thin as you can. Try to get it very thin so it gets that pastry-like texture to it. But I'll show you guys when I get the finished product here. So as you can see, we got all the rectangles of dough aligned, and these are the top pieces, and these are obviously the bottom pieces up under it. So we're gonna cut 3 slices through the top, and be very careful if you're cutting it over top of the other ones. So I suggest cutting off something else, but I'm too lazy to go get something else, so I'm gonna do it like this. And then I get the 3 cuts through it, and then boom, you got the signature McDonald's pie look to it. And now we're gonna go to the next part and do this to all of them and fill them up. All right guys, so after you got all your squares cut and you got the tops with the slices in them for the vent, make sure to get all your custard in a bag, and then we'll give it a light cut like this. Give it a light cut at the end, just like that. I'm using meat scissors because I'm lazy. But boom, just like that, you got a piping bag. And now we're gonna pipe it out. Make sure not to hit the edges, guys. So just fill up, give a good amount of space between the edges and the custard, guys. You don't want that hitting together or anything like that, because it turns out best when you do it just like this. Because then you got it closing, and it's very hard to close the top on when it's like that. So just fill up as much as you can right here. And as you can tell, it's gonna be delicious looking. All right, then we cover this over top. You can also base some water around the edges to make it more sticky, but me personally, I don't think we really need it on this one. So we're just gonna press them down just like this. And as you can see, I press it down with my fingers first like this, just to give it a little area where I need to crush it down, so I know exactly where the custard's at and where it's not. So you can do this. See, sometimes you'll get a little leak there, here and there, but just make sure you wipe it up with a paper towel if you have the custard leak out at any point, and just press it down in that area. It's not gonna really matter. But as you can tell, just to give it that pie ridge kind of shape, you get the fork across the whole line right here, the whole side, and it gives it that McDonald's kind of texture. And just like that, we have a pie. All right, so now we're gonna hit it with 1 beaten egg. We're gonna egg wash it over top, all of them, and it's gonna give it that nice golden brown texture to it, guys. The egg wash across all of it. We're gonna hit it with some sprinkles, and this time we're doing it correctly. So boom, you just hit it with some sprinkles across the top with each of them, and then we toss it in the oven at 380, and we'll be back in about 20 minutes.